Hi, this is Donna with the Waldorf Connection, and welcome to video 4 in our Magic of Waldorf series. On the last video, we talked about the arts and the gift of childhood, so I hope you had a chance to come up with one idea or activity to help enhance your child's play and creativity. So I've been walking you through the letters M-A-G-I-C through our Magic of Waldorf. We talked about movement and music, we talked about arts, we talked about the gift of childhood, and in this video I'm going to talk about imagination and curriculum. And basically how that comes into being is through stories. So when I first found Waldorf, I saw the arts and I saw the music and the nature, and I of course loved all of that. And then I quickly found out that the vehicle for teaching is are those things, the arts and stories. Everything is taught through stories. It's not taught through textbooks or worksheets, but through stories. And any of you who have ever studied a certain topic in school, that's very dry, some kind of history, and you tried to memorize facts and maybe dates of wars or whatever, and then maybe you've seen like a TV movie on the same subject, and you were like entranced and going, why couldn't we learn like this? Like you learn so much, you remember because you hear the people's stories and the struggles and what they did to overcome, and their, the triumph in the end, or whatever the story is. Well, that's what comes through the Waldorf curriculum and through stories. Now, I was also like, oh my gosh, I don't know how to tell a story. I'm not a storyteller. But when I really started thinking about it and started getting into it, I realized that we are storytellers, that we tell stories every day, whether it's to our mom or sister on the phone about a new restaurant that we just found, or a movie that we saw, or we're on Facebook posting about certain things. We're storytellers. We craft our stories. It may not feel like a story, but we're saying, oh my gosh, I saw this. Can you believe what happened to me yesterday, right? That's a story as you're leading into it. And we are master storytellers. We tell stories all day. We just don't realize it. So in Waldorf, you are telling stories to your young children, and you may already be doing this, with just bedtime stories, or you may have really just relied on books, but telling a story is a big part of Waldorf versus reading a story. And there are many facts in that. I'm not going to have time to go through everything in here, but when you watch a child, when you are telling a story and looking, as I'm looking at you right now and telling you a story about stories, if you have a person in front of you or your child in front of you, you can see your child's reaction. You can see their eyes go wide when you get to the part about the big giant coming in, or whatever, when you're telling a fairy tale or you're making up your own story. You can watch their expressions. You can see if they're starting to kind of fall off or they're bored, and you can bring some new, something fun into the mix. And most of the stories, especially in the early years, are taught through telling stories, or we are encouraged to tell as many stories as you can in the Waldorf curriculum. Something else about the curriculum that I absolutely love is the way Rudolf Steiner crafted it to make that the stories meet your child where they are developmentally. They're not just, oh hey, those are really nice stories, let's use that for first grade, or let's use this for third grade, or let's do this for kindergarten. No, they're stories that are meant to feed your child, to nurture them and give them what they need at their developmental stage. So in first grade, it's fairy tales and folk tales and nature stories. And the children are learning, how things go through those stories. They're learning about animals, and they're learning about the outdoors through the nature stories. They're learning about people's reactions and how things go, and how goodness wins over evil through the fairy tales. And then it progresses each year. Second grade is fables and legends and trickster tales. And they're learning about consequences to their actions, and they learn so much through those stories, not only about the people where they live, and as the curriculum ages up, they start to learn more about the geography and the peoples and how they lived and what they hunted and all of that as it goes into the older grades. But they also learn, like I was saying, the struggles and how these people thought, where they were in their consciousness, and they thought about this or that, and how it progresses as civilization. So the Waldorf curriculum is amazing in that it feeds your child, it meets your child exactly where they are, and they really get the most out of the stories where they are. And the stories are what is how you teach. It's the vehicle for teaching grammar and reading and math and science and history and all the things that go along with it. And if you have younger children, you are still telling folk tales and nature tales and some fairy tales to the young ones as they're playing, but they're also listening to you and learning about the way people act and the way the world works. So stories are a really huge part of the Waldorf curriculum, and it's an amazing way to bring imagination, and it's really fun. It's a really fun way to teach versus, memorizing boring facts about kings' reigns or, certain rivers in countries you've never heard of before. So what I'd like to do here, as we've gone through basically the components of what makes Waldorf magic, talking about, again, about the music and the movement, the arts, the imagination, the gift of childhood and play, and the stories. I would like to invite you over to a webinar called Waldorf 101, where I will take all these concepts. Now you've kind of learned a little bit about what it all is and what it means. Now, how does that fit into your day? How do you make that work? What are the steps that you need to take to be able to use this amazing approach to alternative holistic education? How do you do it? What do I do and where do I start? So I'm going to go over Waldorf 101 on that webinar. So just click the link below to reserve your spot and go check out the webinar Waldorf 101. And I hope to see you over there. I hope you've enjoyed this Magic of Waldorf series, and I'd love to see you on the webinar. All right, thanks again. Bye-bye.